Hello loves, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my Saxenda journey. I wanted to thank you guys for subscribing, for reaching out. I've received such great messages of people that are starting their process, so keep those messages coming. I really have enjoyed connecting with you guys. I have been meaning to film for a while. If you haven't seen my first video, I definitely recommend that you go back and watch it. I go over a lot of details, a lot of side effects, my process, my why. To give you some background, I am 41 years old. I started taking Saxenda because I felt like I was just out of control and I really needed that extra help. Like I needed some intervention because I felt like I just wasn't able to break through my weight and just kind of do it on my own. I am not a medical expert. I am not in the medical field. This is just my process and what I've been through and what's worked for me and what hasn't. And the whole point of these videos is really just when I started my journey, my doctor really didn't give me a lot of information. I always say that you should be your #1 health advocate. So I just did a lot of my own research and I just know how much these type of videos really help me. So I'm just trying to pay it forward. I can't believe I look back. I started taking Saxenda in March. We're now July. I filmed in April. I was thinking I'm gonna do a video once a month, but a lot has changed since then. I have moved from Texas to Florida. If you have ever moved state to state, it's just next level logistics, expense. It's just an exhausting process. It definitely threw me off a bit. I was just really focused on that. I started a new position at my job. So just a lot of changes and everything that really just didn't give me the mental capacity to sit down and just do this video. But now I'm in Florida. I've been here a few weeks. I finally feel settled in. All the boxes are put away, that sort of thing. And I am now refocusing on my journey. I will be honest, I have been kind of on and off, and I'll explain that to you guys more in a minute. But I did want to go over some of the most common questions that I received. And question number 1, how do you get Saxenda? How much is it? How did you get it prescribed? So everybody's different. I know there's a lot of different ways now to get these medications. I got Saxenda through a website called Hello Alpha. I'll be honest, I don't really recommend it. Again, it's like telehealth, but without seeing anybody. So everything's literally through message, and it's just been kind of a hassle. And I'll tell you guys one of my hassles now. So I went through there and my insurance covered it. So I have been very fortunate where I have only paid $25 a month. So that has been fantastic. That was another reason I had held off in making a video. I really thought I was gonna switch over to Wegovy. And the reason for that is I think Saxenda has a success rate of 5 to 6%. Wegovy and Manjaro, I believe it's pronounced, has a higher percentage to help you lose weight. I had called my insurance. They said they needed a pre-authorization to get onto Wegovy. I felt like Saxenda wasn't being as effective, but again, I'll share a little bit more on that. When I went through the process, this Hello Alpha getting me a pre-approval, and then my insurance, they denied it, which I was shocked. I was and then my Hello Alpha had to do an appeal. They were really just not helpful. They were well, unless you could prove that you have other history. I do have high blood pressure, which I thought was one of the reasons that they initially approved the medication for me. They were asking me to get proof of that. I'm I take blood pressure medication. Is that not sufficient? Anyway, it's really been such a hassle with anything besides Saxenda that I had to end up kind of taking a break from the Saxenda. There was a lapse of time because my insurance required that obviously I'm not taking both, right? So my understanding was I couldn't refill my Saxenda prescription if I wanted to get Wegovy. So there was a time lapse there. Unfortunately, they denied my Wegovy request. I realized now this last time I filled my prescription, which was quote unquote kind of late, that they had given me a pre-authorization for 3 months. I am very much looking into other options. To get it through your insurance is great, but there's so many steps and there's so many things, and I feel like now there's so many options. So I personally am looking into compound pharmacies, which you don't have to run through your insurance. From what I've gathered, is a compound medication is that they mix, for example, a generic form of the medication along with B12, so they compound it, and therefore it's not the brand name of Wegovy or Saxenda, etc. I also looked into a local place here who gives you a shot once a week, which is another great thing because Saxenda is daily. By the way, speaking of which, I did make a short, I believe it's called here on YouTube. I think of reels, but it's a short here on YouTube on how I inject myself. It's a 2-part, so you'll see it on there where I go live and I literally show you how I inject myself. Yeah, I'm really looking and kind of weighing out my options, but I'm thinking that's where I'm gonna go towards. Now, yes, would I love insurance just to cover it for me and not have that expense? Absolutely. However, it's just become such a hassle, and I have a little bit of a bad feeling that they're not gonna renew my prescription. So I rather take some control over that. So I'll keep you guys posted. I'm definitely planning to do at least once a month just to keep you guys updated. So that has been kind of my like insurance mission, FYI. Everybody's process is different. I know of somebody who I work with, so she and I have the same insurance. She went through and she got the Manjaro, which I would have loved to get, but I didn't qualify for. That's another thing. I went down, now my BMI, I think is like 27%. So that's another iffy thing, but she's had like a great process with her insurance and she's lost, I don't know, I think like over 100 pounds or something crazy, you know, and it's all gone pretty smooth for her. So it just differs. The injections I'm looking at here are, I think it's like Wegovy Ozempic type, which is very different than Saxenda. From what I understand. First of all, it's once a week, and number two, it's supposed to be more effective, and I definitely feel like I need something more effective. I found a place here that I think the first month is like $225, which is still super expensive, but I've looked into some online places and they're anywhere from like 300 to 400. Like everybody's kind of jumping on this, so obviously supply and demand. Not to mention that I know somebody who got prescribed Wegovy, it's out of stock. So they're waiting weeks on this, and that's another thing I don't want to be going through. So that's another thing that has me kind of iffy, but again, to each their own, and everybody has their own process. Next thing I wanted to go over is side effects and things that have helped me with side effects. So last time I filmed, I think I was at 1.8. The maximum dosage is 3. Last time I talked about having a lot of bad side effects. I went up all the way to 3, and I will tell you that I started to feel so much better. I wasn't getting that terrible nausea or just like that nauseous feeling as much. The only time I would get sick is when I overdid it. So for me, I've noticed that if I eat late and I eat something greasy, like forget it, like I'm destroyed. But I have acquired, and I have a list of things I'm gonna go over with you guys that have really helped me. My hope is that you won't have to struggle the way I did and do all the research that I did and have an idea of what works best. I've linked all of these in my website. I have a little section there that says blog, and there I've linked all the products. When you go on there, you'll see I used to be a makeup artist. I'm no longer a makeup artist. That's something I'm pursuing at the moment. I do teach makeup classes, so when you go on there and you see the blog, you'll also see my website, and there'll be a bunch of other makeup related stuff, but in my blog section you'll see everything. So again, when I went increasing my dosages, I felt better. Look, like with anything, with any medication that you're on, any medication you're on might have, not everybody, right? I had a lot of side effects. Your body needs to adjust to it, okay? Especially with Saxenda, like you start off at 0.6. So 0.6, it just gives you something so your body could go adjusting to that dosage so that you don't get as many side effects. But either way, it's a buildup. But once I got to 3%, I would barely ever have a side effects unless I was hard-headed and eated something that I just know I shouldn't have had, paid for it heavily. Okay, so let's talk side effects. I would never think that I would be filming a video talking about all the side effects and what's helped me, but here we are. Okay, so first and foremost, I wanted to share two different, these are like ginger chews. Okay, this one's a ginger chew, and then this one is called Upspring Stomach Settle. It helps relieve nausea, gas, motion sickness. A lot of people that are pregnant take this type of thing, and I'll tell you the difference between these two. So this one is more of like an organic chewy type of thing. I actually just had one a little while ago. It tastes really good. So if you want something that's like cleaner, but this helps with nausea, like motion sickness, that type of thing, these are pretty great. Again, I've linked them down below. And then Upspring, these are really awesome because they're more like a hard candy. So you just take it and you could just carry it with you everywhere you're not feeling well. And this will just help you like soothe your stomach a bit, okay? The next thing that really helps is just good old Alka-Seltzer, okay? Alka-Seltzer has become my best friend. I was taking like one Alka-Seltzer tab like daily, but I use the lemon one. I find it to taste a little bit better, and that would really help ease. The point of these medication is that the food kind of sits in your stomach longer, so you feel fuller quicker. But I would think this is how people feel, the ones that get like weight loss surgery, where they can only eat so much at a certain time. You kind of get that feeling, and Alka-Seltzer really, really helps. Another very unpleasant side effect that I've had, and I know a lot of people have had, is constipation. And if you already dealt with constipation before and then you get on this, it's like a whole nother level. Painful stuff, painful, okay? You could do two things. Number one, I've taken those laxatives, like I think it's called Daylax brand, I don't know. Those things are terrible. Like for me, like it's super painful. So I have now gone into more of a preventive. I actually saw a TikTok of somebody taking this, and they're called the Emma supplements. You could buy these through Amazon too. These, if you're consistent with it, which I haven't always been, you really feel a difference and it really helps. I'm telling you, you gotta be on something because it becomes very painful and very uncomfortable, and I've gone through those moments where it was just like, I didn't know it could make you feel so bad. So I definitely recommend these supplements. They're like all natural. I had seen like an advertisement of this like, I don't know, months ago on like Facebook, and it has this whole video about how this helps with gut health and so on and so forth. So I really highly recommend this. Another thing that I recommend is good old Phillips milk of magnesia. You know what's so funny? I only had milk of magnesia if for people who have really oily skin. Side note, it's like a good primer. You could just use a little bit before your makeup and it helps dry that out. So that's why I would always think of milk of magnesia. It's magnesium. It is a saline laxative, but it's not something that's painful. So if you need like some relief, like overnight, this is something good to take. It'll help you, it'll clean you out, because on this medication, you could go days and days, 3-4 days. We need some relief, this is it. So last video, I was plateaued at 140. Like 140.6, 140.2, like I wouldn't go under 140. When I went increasing my medication, probably like within a month, I went down to 138, 137, and the lowest I've gotten down to is 136. Again, I have not been super consistent. I haven't had a real schedule. When we were coming to Florida, we drove here. We drove brought our stuff for here. You know, when you're on the road, like all you're gonna eat is like fast food, things like that. We went to Buc-ee's, if you know, you know, and Buc-ee's is like full of snacks, and I got like a variety of things. I didn't want to worry about like dieting too much. When I got to Florida, I was like, I'm gonna weigh myself. I probably gained like 3 or 4 pounds. I weighed myself, I had gained like 1 pound. So I had gone from 136 to 137, which was a really good thing, because that means that my new like settle point was 137 without me being like super strict or anything like that. If you look at it, to be honest with you, 3 months for about 11 pounds, it's not that great. At least for me, it's not. I have an additional 15 pounds I want to lose, and I'm going to do a goal of 5 pounds per month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot because it's my last 15 pounds and I feel like those are harder to lose, which is why I'm thinking about going up. After I came back, that's when I went through with everything with the insurance, and I felt like it wasn't being as effective anymore. Like with anything, you're able to start eating more, which I did. I'm in Florida now, and where I was in Texas, there wasn't really a lot of good food, but here, there's good food. And I've had to be very conscious about cutting back, because like every weekend we've been going to places, and I'm just like, no, I gotta pull it together. I have to be disciplined. But in the midst of that, I went off the Saxenda because of everything with the insurance. And then I had heard that it was good to like do a reset, help you kind of start all over. But since I want to do everything at once, which I don't recommend, I got the bright idea that I would, while I was off the medication, I would start doing intermittent fasting. First of all, if you're like on Saxenda, intermittent fasting, again, to each their own. But one of the few things that helped me with my nausea was eating small meals every few hours. Okay, so obviously if you're intermittent fasting, you can't do that. Afterthought, do as I say, not as I do. Okay, I hadn't given that thought. But additionally, I started doing intermittent fasting, and when I tell you that I was hungry, like it really like backfired on me so bad, because as soon as I would have my window, I felt like I was overeating, and definitely I was, and I went up a few pounds, and I was very disappointed with it, and my hunger came back. So I'm now back on, and so I'm at the very low dose of 0.6 for the last few days. Like with anything with time, you're gonna be able to eat more if you want. Like it's not like before where you're just like kind of grossed out. No, you're able to eat more. And getting off of it, listen, that hunger came back, like hello, here I am. But I think it was a really bad idea of mine to do the intermittent fasting. It was too many things all at once, and it threw me off. However, this week I got my crap together and I went back down to 137. I wanted to have better news. I wanted to be able to say, hey, I lost another, I don't know, 10 pounds or something. But that is not the reality, and that's not what's happened with me. Weight loss is so mental. Like you have to be in the right headspace, and moving halfway across the country and all the things that entails didn't have me super focused, but I was completely maintaining my weight. And while I thought that maybe the Saxenda wasn't being super effective, let me tell you, once I got off of it, I'm like, oh no, that thing was keeping me balanced. My goal is to make a video once a month and give you guys an update and let you know whether I stood on Saxenda, whether I made a change. I'm really working towards probably making a change, but let's see, because I might, now that I'm starting to like raise my dose, maybe I'll feel like super, like my hunger has held off, and we'll see. But I just want to thank you guys again I want to remind you to subscribe Thank you for your comments, for your messages. I have loved connected with you. I will also include my social media, so make sure that you follow me on Instagram. That's really probably where I stay a little bit more active. And thank you so much, guys. See you soon.